BBC Radio Newcastle's Sam Thomson has this report.
Sam Thomson reports.
Our reporter Sam Thomson is braving the cold for you.
Hearts Sam Thomson reports from Innsbruck in Austria.
Sam Thomson is LBC's reporter in the area.
Sam Thomson has the news. It's just after 9 o'clock.
Our reporter Sam Thomson has more from Newcastle.
4 men go on trial in their absence this morning over the shooting down of flight MH17. BBC Newcastle's Sam Thomson reports.
Summer 2014. Ukraine.
Now, these are some pictures that have come into the BBC newsroom, which appear to show the aftermath of the plane coming down. Now, we're not
In the middle of a war zone lies the wreckage of a passenger plane, a tower of smoke billowing from what remained of the Malaysia Airlines jet.
And those people who you can see are talking about seeing a plane coming down.
Probably rather it was me sitting on the plane and not him, because he's only 28, you know.
Barry Sweeney spoke to us the following day. His son Liam and their pal John Alder had been on the plane on their way to watch their beloved Newcastle United play in New Zealand.
You can have hatred, but unfortunately what happens over there is what happens over there. It's not as though something that's happened, somebody's hurt him here, where I could probably do something about it.
It's been 6 years, but this morning 4 men, 3 Russian and 1 Ukrainian are in the dock, but only metaphorically. Neither Russia or Ukraine would allow their extradition, and it's unlikely they'll take part in any way.
Ian Levy, the Conservative Party candidate, 17,000.
Well, let's get some reaction from Blyth now. Our reporter Sam Thomson is there. Sam, what are people saying this morning?
Well, Steph, you know that chant, "Oh, Jeremy Corbyn"? In Blythe Valley, it's more like, "Oh dear, Jeremy Corbyn." People here have told me they are lifelong Labour voters, but they simply could not vote for that man. That man, of course, being the Labour leader. They told me they don't like what they read about him in the newspapers. They don't like what he stands for, and they don't like his stance on Brexit. And it seems that those 3 little words that we kept hearing from the Conservatives, "get Brexit done," well, that mantra has been very powerful indeed. People say that they just want Brexit done, and they were willing to change their voting habits of a lifetime to make sure it happened.
Hi folks, quick update for me on the campaign against coronavirus. And alas, I still have one of the symptoms, a minor symptom of I still have a temperature, and so...
A lot has changed in the 3 days since the PM recorded that video message for his Twitter followers. Yesterday, of course, we were hearing he'd been taken to St Thomas's Hospital, but that, we were told, was routine.
This wasn't an emergency admission, it was a planned admission, but I've heard that he's doing well.
The PM himself tweeted to say he was in good spirits, and at yesterday's daily coronavirus briefing, the message was the same.
He's in charge, he'll continue to take doctors' advice, and we have a team making sure that his directions and his instructions are being implemented and followed through.
But late on yesterday, Boris Johnson was given oxygen before being taken into the ICU. It's understood he was conscious, but the move was to make sure he is near a ventilator should he need one.
We finished school and then we set off for Manchester, and we were so excited, living our best lives at the concert.
16-year-old Rebecca Wright had travelled from Thornaby for the gig with her mum Caroline.
We were all excited, it was brilliant. We were going to see Becky's favourite pop star. The night was brilliant, we stayed in our seats right till the end.
Obviously she'd finished the set, and when we walked toward the stairs,
Oh my god.
the bomb went off.
What just happened? What's going on?
I had to look at my daughter and say, Becky, we're going to be okay, we're going to get out. And I didn't know if we were, but I made her a promise that we would. I felt guilty because as a nurse my job is to help people, but at the time the only person I could help was my daughter.
First of all, it's pretty clear now, isn't it? The North East comes bottom of the pile once again when it comes to employment, and this problem existed long before the pandemic. What is the government doing specifically here in the North East? Not what you're doing across the country. What are you doing that is tailor-made to help the North East out of this rut?
Well, I've actually spoken to the local Chamber of Commerce, who are doing a brilliant job supporting us with our Kickstart scheme and get that.
You are doing those across the country, though, Minister?
Yeah, but I've spoken to your local Chambers of Commerce who've been doing a brilliant job in terms of recruiting the opportunities for people locally.
We've been talking a bit on our programme already today about how women seem to be disproportionately affected when it comes to losing their jobs in the pandemic. Young women aged between 18 and 30. We've spoken to the Young Women's Trust today, who say that there are bigger things that could change to make the situation fairer, particularly for young women. Just have a listen here to what Joanne Robertson, who's chair of the organisation, had to say.
There is still a 5-week wait for people who try to claim benefits. There is absolutely no reason why when you turn 25 you should get a different minimum wage to those that are under 25. And I think the third and final thing is to really invest in jobs for the future rather than some of the low-paid, 0 hours.
So you've just heard that there. We don't have much time, but are you going to take some of that on board? Are you going to take that back to your colleagues in the Cabinet and try and implement some of those changes?
Well, we're already doing it. We've got youth hubs rolling out with youth employability work coaches, with specialist employment support for
that wasn't on her list. That wasn't on her list, Minister.
Well, she did. She said she spoke about younger women.
It's 11 o'clock. Here's the latest.
From Global's newsroom, I'm Sam Thomson in Richmond, on the start line of Stage 3 of the Tour de Yorkshire, where, as you can hear, the atmosphere is being ramped up ahead of another day of racing. And carrying white rose flags, many of them lycraed up to the nines, the crowds are gathering.
Yorkshire's done it properly. After the Tour of France and then the start of this off, they have done it properly.
Love the atmosphere and just like seeing all the pros in action.
We think it's the people that make it. You know, the people that come out and support, they're the ones that make it, really.
One for the sprinters today promises to be an explosive day of racing. 114 miles, taking in Catterick Garrison, Bedale, Northallerton, Thirsk, the infamous Sutton Bank with its 25% gradient, and heading on down to Scarborough for a tea time finish. The Dane, Magnus...
And here the riders come. Chris Lawless hugging Greg Van Avermaet's wheel. Has he done enough? Van Avermaet crosses the line first, but surely that is the first British winner of the Tour de Yorkshire, Chris Lawless.
Sam Thomson has donned his wellies and been to the town to see for himself the damage caused by Storm Desmond.
Well, the River Tyne here in Courtbridge is often shallow enough to wade from one side to the other. Today, though, it's a dark and swirling torrent that's brought misery to dozens of people in this village just before Christmas. Chris Bray is one of them. Earlier, he was kind enough to give me a tour of his now wrecked home.
Well, I mean, there's nothing left. I mean, there's just muck and slurry everywhere, and it's just an absolute state, to be honest. Every cupboard you open has water in it. So it's just, it is just absolutely everywhere.
And if it's okay, just come through to the living room, you can actually feel the floorboards underneath your feet actually bending.
It's quite tough to see it the way that it is, but we're philosophical people, and at the end of the day, it's only possessions, and we're okay. That is the main thing.
Sam Thomson, LBC. Before and after last summer's referendum, we heard warnings about the North East potentially being hardest hit by any negative economic impacts of Brexit. What measures are you going to take as Prime Minister specific to the North East to make sure that those prophecies don't come true?
Well, of course, and since the referendum, we've had the very good news for the North East of the investment that Nissan is putting in.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Well, as you heard yesterday on the news bulletins on LBC, Nissan has decided to build 2 new models at its Sunderland plant in a vote of confidence in the UK. Sam Thompson is LBC's reporter in the area and joins us now. And I would think, Sam, a certain unalloyed glee and delight at the Sunderland plant.
Oh, well, certainly, yeah, this is a big jump for Nissan from uncertainty and threats to cut new investment only a few days ago to announcing that those 2 new models are going to be built here in the North East. That means some 7,000 jobs in Sunderland have been secured. Now, this has been hailed as a huge boost for the city and indeed the UK. And of course, UKIP have described it as one in the eye for Remainers. Of course, Sunderland voted strongly, 61% in favour of leaving the European Union, despite Nissan's warnings that it might have to consider its future in the city. And it's certainly a major victory for Theresa May's Brexit plan as well. What is unclear, though, at this stage is what the Prime Minister said to encourage Nissan to stay. In that very brief statement she gave yesterday, she was almost triumphant, but told us very little about how she ought to take the credit.
This is fantastic news.
And Norwich City have extended their lead at the top of the Championship to 5 points. It's important, have to continue. After beating Swansea...
No one's listening.
They are. 1-0 last night. Leeds United could cut that back to just 2 points, but only if they can win at Bristol City later. The weather, sunny spells in the south, rain further north, highs of 14. From Global's newsroom for Radio X, I'm Sam Thompson.
This is Radio X.